I have so much respect for my friends who taught kindergarten, but those kids are so small. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I spent many years teaching in the classroom. And now I work with 240 to help teachers pass their certification exams. And today, I'm going to help you. This video is going to prepare you for the Illinois Early Childhood Education Exam. That's test code number 206. And this test is for anyone who wants to teach infants through second graders in the state of Illinois. This video is going to cover 3 things: what's on the test and how it's laid out, the most important concepts to master, and we're going to look at a few practice questions. The Illinois Early Childhood Education Exam covers 4 sub-areas: child development, learning and assessment, language and literacy development, learning across the curriculum, and professional relationships and responsibilities. Each one is worth a certain percentage of your exam, so each contains a specified number of select response questions. You'll have 150 select response questions to answer in all. Each sub-area is broken down further by test objectives. We'll overview each sub-area, then dive into a key concept that you'll need to know for your exam. Let's take it from the top with child development, learning, and assessment. This sub-area is worth 25% of the overall exam and contains 4 objectives in all. They are understanding early childhood development and factors that affect learning, early childhood curriculum and how to plan instruction based on knowledge of young children, the goals, benefits, types, and uses of formal and informal assessments, and how to create and maintain a safe and productive learning environment. Whew, that is definitely a lot to know. We have it all covered for you in our study guide. The link to subscribe is below. But right now, I'd like to talk to you about human development. Let's overview the 4 main domains. The cognitive domain involves knowledge and development of intellectual skills. The physical domain is all about body growth and movement. The social domain includes interactions with others and communication. And the emotional domain is all about understanding and expressing feelings. There are many factors that influence a child's development. These external factors can both positively and negatively affect development. Positive factors in development include parental care and attention, appropriate discipline, a healthy diet, opportunities for physical activity, opportunities for socialization, and access to educational materials such as books at home. Negative factors in development include instability at home, abuse or neglectful situations, poor nutrition, lack of physical activity, lack of opportunities to socialize, and a lack of educational materials or experiences. We have the stages from each domain covered in detail in our study guide. But now we've got to move on to our next sub-area. Next up is language and literacy, which is one of the 2 largest sub-areas at 31% of your overall score. You'll need to know about children's language and communication development and how to support listening and speaking skills, the foundations of literacy development, word identification strategies and vocabulary, reading comprehension, including encouraging independent reading, and the writing process and how to produce writing competence. So basically everything you need to know to set young children up for success with reading and writing. No big deal, right? Actually, it's a really big deal and a lot of information, but we have it all covered for you in our 240 study guide. It's full of instructional content, including videos and flashcards and practice questions, including a full-length practice test, all aligned to your exam. Okay, back to the sub-area. Let's take a closer look at one of the more ambiguous objectives: foundations of literacy development. Here, you'll need to know about the predictable stages of literacy development, how oral language supports reading and writing, the concepts of print, the alphabetic principle, and phonological awareness. Let's pick one of these concepts and really dig into it.
Phonological awareness is an umbrella term that includes the ability to hear individual words, syllables, and sounds in spoken language. If you're aware that words can be broken into parts, then you already have some phonological awareness. Before learning to read, children must recognize that words are made up of phonemes, or sounds of speech. There is often a misunderstanding that phonemic awareness and phonological awareness are the same. Phonemic awareness is essentially a subcategory of phonological awareness. Phonological awareness encompasses the ability to recognize individual phonemes, but also syllables and words. Phonemic awareness refers only to the ability to hear and use individual units of sounds or phonemes. Phonological awareness typically develops in a simple to complex progression.
Oh man, I could watch videos like that all day, especially when your host is as entertaining as this one. But for now, we've got to move on to learning across the curriculum. This is the other biggie, coming in at 31% of the exam. I think you're about to see why. It covers math, science, social science, physical, emotional, and social development, and fine arts. I know, it's overwhelming, but we'll look at one key idea you need to know for each objective to get you started. First, in math, you'll need to understand the actual math content. So that means counting and cardinality, operations, algebraic thinking, fractions, measurements and data, and geometry. Then you'll need to understand how to teach and assess those math concepts. And pay attention here because this next pedagogy part, it's going to repeat over the next few objectives. Can you create quality assessments? Can you apply appropriate instructional strategies? And can you incorporate developmentally appropriate activities? Understanding how kids learn math includes mastering a variety of teaching strategies that improve student understanding, like how to incorporate manipulatives and other tools like calculators into your lessons. Counting blocks, tangrams, fraction tiles, and color counters can be used to enrich students' understanding of mathematical concepts. You'll need to know what they are and when it's appropriate to use them. So, for example, when dealing with fractions, you may be asked what manipulative will best help students understand that 2/4 is equal to 1/2. Fraction tiles would be the best choice because students could see that together, 2 1/4 tiles are the same size as 1/2 tile. Ready to move on to science? The content knowledge part covers the 3 big areas of science: life, physical, and earth and space. Then the pedagogy part looks the same as it did for math. A great intersection of content and pedagogy in science is the teaching of inquiry, which, I'll be honest, took me years to get right in my own classroom. Let's take a peek at our study guide and see what one of our amazing tutors has to say about teaching inquiry.
Scientific inquiry guiding questions are non-trivial, elicit discussion, and generally cannot be answered at that grade level without investigation. Can be answered by experimental or observational evidence that can be performed by the students. Are about objects, organisms, and processes in the natural world. Seek explanations, why and how, although the first stages of understanding might include recognizing patterns, and should stimulate thinking and foster good scientific inquiry practices. Remember that a guiding question is not a hypothesis. The guiding question is the larger question to ponder and answer. The hypothesis is more focused and has testable components.
See? Perfect intersection of content and pedagogy. As the teacher, you've got to know your content. In this case, how to work the scientific method. But then you've also got to know kids and how to support them through making their own scientific discoveries. Nice job. Next up, social science. Just like the objectives before, the social science objective covers both subject matter and pedagogy. So you may be asked to define basic terms or concepts related to culture, geography, history, economics, and civics. But you'll also be asked to select the most appropriate instructional method or activity for a given learning objective. If it's been a few years since you focused on geography or history, we've got you covered. Our materials are written to provide some basic facts without wasting your times getting into the weeds of these concepts. Check out this map that is designed to give you enough background information to answer basic geography questions. You won't need to know capitals or even the locations of every country, but having background on the rough locations of major landmarks may help you narrow down to the correct answer. Here's a quick tip. If you see any questions about human settlement, remember that water is super important. Humans have always relied on water, from the hunter-gatherer days to the industrial age. So simple, but it really will be the key in some social sciences questions. Okay, moving on. In addition to social science facts, developmental appropriateness will be the key to the pedagogy-focused questions. You will need to identify instructional activities for young students that provide concrete examples of concepts being taught, and be able to identify age-appropriate materials and methods to support that instruction. It's important to consider learning styles in addition to developmental stages. Across all age groups, each lesson should incorporate various instructional activities to support students with various learning styles. Check out this graphic that provides some examples of activities that fall under each of the 3 main learning styles. Okay, on to our next objective. The physical, emotional, and social development objective is very interconnected. It covers personal, social, and community health. You'll teach a basic knowledge of human body systems for young children. You'll help them develop motor skills, problem-solving skills, and strategies. And you'll help them connect all these concepts to each other and to the other subject areas. So this topic blends physical health and social-emotional skills. It helps to teach small children about how to take care of their bodies and foster positive relationships. You will likely also see questions for this objective that ask about how to incorporate some of these concepts into the core subject areas. An example might be a lesson that teaches about decision-making and the basic concept of democracy at the same time. You could incorporate a concrete example of that by having students vote on a read-aloud book or what game to play during math. Man, that sounds like a fun curriculum. Okay, moving on to Objective 14. The final objective in this sub-area covers the fine arts. That includes visual arts, music, dance, and drama. So you'll be expected to know fundamental concepts of each of these art forms. As with the other objectives in this sub-area, there's also a pedagogy component. Brush up on developmentally appropriate methods of engagement and exploration in each of these art forms. With students this young, art is a great way to explore other subjects. For example, students may read a book and then draw a character or a setting from the book, or act out an interaction between characters. This allows them to engage in visual art or drama while supporting reading comprehension. We actually have some amazing materials to help you study the pedagogy benefits and common instructional strategies of each area of fine art. Check out this table. This type of study material can help you familiarize yourself with some of the most common instructional strategies for each area of the fine arts. You may also be surprised at some of the basic activities that are included. Take a look at the first bullet in the music column. Patty cake could be a valuable music lesson and so fun. So if you're like me and you're less familiar with this type of content, I'm a math and science girl at heart. Our study guide has you covered. Phew, we are almost there. The last sub-area of the exam is all about professional relationships and responsibilities, and it's worth 13% of your overall score. It covers the importance of building positive relationships with families, other professionals, and the community, as well as understanding the roles and responsibilities of early childhood educators. What are some of these roles and responsibilities? I'm so glad you asked. You'll need to know your major federal and state laws, regulations, and guidelines, as well as how to engage in ongoing professional development. You'll also need to be aware of early childhood educators' responsibilities regarding IFSPs and IEPs. What do those letters stand for? I can't wait to let you know. IFSP stands for Individualized Family Service Plan. This is a plan to provide special services for children from birth to age 3 with disabilities or developmental delays. It outlines the services and supports that a child and their family will receive to address the child's developmental needs. IEP stands for Individualized Education Program. This is a plan created for school-age children with disabilities from ages 3 to 21. It outlines the services and supports that a child will receive to help them succeed in school. Early childhood educators are on the team that help develop those plans and are responsible for following them for their students. Okay, we've made it through the 4 sub-areas. Now that we've gone over some big concepts from each of our subject areas, let's look at some practice questions to show you how those concepts can appear on the test. Let's start from sub-area 1. At which of the following phases do children begin to think logically? Oh, I know that this one is choice A. Children from first grade through adolescence are able to begin to think logically by picturing concepts without always relying on concrete examples. Nice! How about we look at a question that focuses on phonological awareness? How many phonemes are in the word hat? A phoneme is the smallest unit of speech that can be used to make one word different from another. In the word hat, the sounds h, a, and t are all distinct phonemes, so 3 is the correct answer. Let's look at a math question. This question looks at manipulatives in a kindergarten classroom. A kindergarten teacher is working on adding one-digit numbers with a small group of students. Which of the following would not be a manipulative that the teacher might plan to use? Base 10 blocks are most often used for teaching place value, not one-digit addition problems, so B is best. Moving on to science, you know we've got to talk inquiry here. Which of the following activities best highlights scientific inquiry in the classroom? Inquiry is all about students questioning the world around them and then investigating to figure out how the world works. So B is out right away here because the teacher is asking the question. C and D do allow the students to do some inquiry. The students get to experiment with materials or research online, but these activities are still too guided to be true inquiry. So A is the best answer. The students are participating in both the process of identifying problems to solve and asking questions that might lead to a solution. Now, let's look at a social studies question. Which of the following factors is most likely to encourage initial human settlement in an area? Out of our choices, abundant natural resources is best. Like I told you, water is important. Okay, let's finish off with the professional relationships question. In this modern day of non-traditional households, the IEP committee must fully understand and interpret the meaning of the word parent. A parent can be considered any of the following except foster parents, biological parents, and people acting in place of a biological parent are all acceptable parents in IEP paperwork. Babysitters or nannies, however, are not, and therefore cannot legally represent the interests of the student. Now that's just a small sampling of practice questions to give you an idea of how these concepts are assessed on the test. Congratulations on finishing the video. If you found it helpful, give it a like. There is still plenty more to learn. Did you know that 240 has helped thousands of teachers pass their certification exams? If you really want to be sure you're prepared for the Illinois Early Childhood Education exam, take the next step and subscribe to the 240 Study Guide. It has hours of videos so that you can watch or listen as you please, and it's test aligned so you know precisely what you need to study. We've got hundreds of practice questions so you can be sure you're ready, and it has the money-back guarantee.